Hello, YouTube. Welcome to Level-Headed News. I'm your host, Brenda. This is the second of 3 episodes that I have for you this morning, and I also had put out a couple special editions for you, so you'll have plenty to listen to this morning. These URLs, there will be 5 of them in this particular episode, are in the description of the video, so you can pull them up to take a look at them at your leisure. Is off of dailymail.co.uk, and it says Drudge goes down again. Popular news site is knocked offline for the second time in a week after founder claimed he was targeted by the government. The Drudge report suffered its biggest DDoS attack on December the 30th. The website was knocked off the internet for about 90 minutes as a result. Site owner Matt Drudge claimed the U.S. government was behind the assault. Last night, Twitter users reported they were unable to access the popular Drudge Report website was hit last night in an apparent distributed denial of service attack, DDoS, for the second time in a week, knocking it temporarily off the internet. Readers were unable to log on to the site last night amid fears it had been targeted by cyber criminals. The news aggregation website went down for 90 minutes. Writing last Thursday, Matt Drudge revealed on his Twitter account that the website had been targeted with the biggest DDoS it had ever experienced in its 21-year history, leaving users unable to access content. He also stated that the routing and timing of the attack was very suspicious. Him to tweet, "Is the U.S. government attacking Drudge Report?" Drudge then followed up with another tweet shortly after writing, "Attack coming from thousands of sources, of course none of them traceable to Fort Meade." The suggestion that the Obama administration might have launched a targeted attack against the website polarized Twitter users, with fans of Drudge Report supporting its founders suspicious and detractors responding with disbelief and in some cases outrage at the allegation. A pundit last night was the second time the Drudge Report had been attacked in a week. One user claimed Drudge knows how to poke the bear. Go, Matt. Keep poking that darn bear. Another suggested Matt Drudge needed some hackers of his own to target those responsible for the attack. Experts have warned that the entire internet could be taken offline for 24 hours by a coordinated attack. According to U.S. technology security vendor Logarithm, a cyber attack of this scale this year isn't only possible but extremely likely. Vice president of Logarithm said in 2017, "We're going to see it hit big sometime somewhere. If the internet goes down, tank," Carter added. With the global DDoS attack last year having seen sites including Twitter, Reddit, PayPal, Netflix, and Spotify knocked off the internet for hours at a time, Carter believes the signs are there an attack that would take down the entire internet. Mail Online has approached the Drudge Report for a comment. There's some video in this if you would like to pull that up and take a look at that. One we have is off of gatewaypundit.com, and it says Julian Assange. Media is colluding with Democratic Party in America. And there is video in this one as well. WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange told Sean Hannity on Tuesday the American mainstream media is colluding with the Democratic Party in America, something WikiLeaks helped to expose this year. Julian Assange on U.S. media. It's very dishonest, corrupt. It's interesting. It depends on your definition. Sean Hannity says, but if they're colluding with Hillary, that's not corrupt. And Julian Assange says it's ethical corruption. Colluding, yeah. A few of the journalists with Hillary advisors, there's pictures here of a dozen of them. It says, thanks to WikiLeaks, we now know that at least 65 mainstream reporters were working closely with the Clinton campaign this election year. They were invited to top elitist dinners with Hillary campaign chairman John Podesta or chief campaign strategist Joel Benenson. Reporter made the list. These 65 mainstream reporters can never be trusted. As previously reported, at least 38 top national reporters attended a different dinner at John Podesta's house in April of 2015. And sent out invites to New York reporters in April of 2015 to their off-the-record meeting on how to sell Hillary Clinton to the public. And there is, well, I'm not sure what it is. There's some kind of a article off, or I guess it's off of Verizon text message, and it's an event memo about a cocktail party, if you'd care to pull that up and take a look at that. The next one I have off of is on refugee named Mohammed sexually assaults disabled U.S. woman, and the media is silent. He newly arrived from Somalia, has been tried and convicted for attempt to sexually assault a special needs woman while she was sitting outside of a home for the disabled in Aberdeen, South Dakota. Laban Mohammed, age 39, was in the United States when he tried to force himself on a 31-year-old woman with severe disabilities. He's not a U.S. citizen, but whether he will be deported in the wake of his conviction remains unclear. The trial for Mohammed was held just a few days before Christmas, and not a word of the conviction has made it into the local media, residents of Aberdeen told WND on Tuesday. Mohammed speaks no English and requires 2 interpreters at the trial, according to the state's attorney who prosecuted the case. I do know he lives in Aberdeen, prosecutor Christopher White told WND. The day that it happened, he was staying at the White House Inn Hotel in Aberdeen. What came out at the trial in his defense attorney's opening statement was that he arrived in Aberdeen that day and had only been in the United States for approximately a week and had to come to work at the beef plant in Aberdeen. But I don't know if he has already started working or was about to start work there. Mohammed mentioned to law enforcement hired on at the Demkota Ranch beef plant, White said. WND called the executive editor of Aberdeen's daily newspaper, the American News, and asked why nothing's been reported on the crime committed by Mohammed. He said he had no knowledge of Mohammed's arrest, trial, or conviction. I'm not seeing it in our system, and I really don't recall it, said editor J.J. Perry when asked about the case Tuesday by WND. Try that again. I'll have to talk to our court reporter. It might be we just missed it on the docket. The newspaper's court reporter, Alyssa Sand, did not attend the trial, WND was told by officials who were present on December the 20th. Nor has the case received any coverage from the local TV stations in South Dakota or neighboring Minnesota. Convicted sexual contact with a person incapable of consent, which is a Class 4 felony in South Dakota and punishable by up to 5 years in prison. Mentally impaired woman living at a facility operated by local nonprofit Aspire Incorporated. She's unable to fully communicate, said White. And a woman employed with Aspire testified against Mohammed at the trial, according to court records. And there's some video in that if you want to take a look at that. And the article continues. To cooperate with me here. It says the incident occurred on July the 30th when a caregiver sat the victim on a bench outside so she could enjoy some fresh air along with one other resident of the home. The caregiver then went back inside to get more residents, and when she returned, found Mohammed allegedly with his hand placed between the woman's legs, reaching for her private parts. When caught in the act, he claimed he wanted to marry the woman. The worker saw what was happening and pulled the woman away from her assailant. Mohammed allegedly claimed to authorities that If he were in this country, he'd done nothing wrong. While White said the woman cannot talk, although she is able to say her name and to let caregivers know when she's hungry. Provides residential services to approximately 150 people with special needs, according to its website. It's located at 607 North 4th Street in Aberdeen. The paper about it, so it doesn't get out. Nobody knows about it, said Aberdeen residents who happened to find out about the trial by a stroke of luck. Someone who works for her was on the jury duty on the Monday before Christmas, but they wouldn't let him on the jury because he said he didn't like the refugee program, said the resident who asked not to be named. He told my friend about it, and she told me. Wednesday morning, I went straight to the courthouse, and they say it's all over with. The trial's over. He was found guilty. They won't put this in the paper, she added. They have an arrest log, crimes, even traffic violations, speeding, and DUI, but not this. If my husband had gotten picked up for attempted rape, his name would have been in there. The resident said the town would be shocked to find out a refugee preyed upon a helpless woman sitting outside of a facility that's supposed to be safe. I don't know if he saw them put her out there before. We're a small town. Nothing like this has happened, the resident said. At least not that anyone is aware of. It just does not happen. Time. The caregiver, she went in to get some more residents, and it happened quickly. Recently popular resettlement site. The State Department and federal contractor Lutheran Social Services have sent 939 Somali refugees to South Dakota since 2002, all of them being placed in Sioux Falls. More than 99% of all Somali refugees are Muslim. 32,000 Somali refugees have been sent to more than 300 U.S. cities and towns, most of them arriving since the Civil War broke out in the East country in 1991. More than 40 have been confirmed by the FBI to have left the country since 2007 to fight for foreign terrorist organizations, and dozens more have been convicted of providing material support to organizations. As recently as November 28th, a Somali refugee at Ohio State University, injuring 11. And on September the 17th, another Somali refugee went on a stabbing spree at the Crossroads Mall in St. Cloud, Minnesota, injuring 10 before he was shot dead by off-duty police officer. To expand refugee resettlement in Aberdeen have not been without critics. A Facebook group called Americans First of Aberdeen, South Dakota, started last year and has more than 458 members. During Christmas week, the Facebook page was all right with comments from posters. So, will he get sent back to Somalia? Asked Kelly Kimbler. Wonder why the public didn't know about this, said another post. It's not the first time sex crime by refugee has been ignored or downplayed by local media. A 5-year-old special needs girl was sexually assaulted in Twin Falls, Idaho by 2 refugee boys from Sudan, while an older boy filmed the entire incident. Refugee Resettlement watchdog Ann Concorin, Refugee Resettlement Watch, traveled last summer to dozens of meatpacking towns across the U.S. and found they are hot targets for looking to resettle refugees. Small cities in the nation's heartland, the Dakotas, Colorado, Iowa, Minnesota, Missouri, Tennessee, and Kentucky, are all magnets for refugees from Somalia, Afghanistan, Iraq, Burma, Democratic Republic of Congo, and Syria because of the meatpacking companies' unquenchable thirst for cheap foreign labor. And Huron, South Dakota, the residents told me the refugees were coming over from Minnesota to work in the meat plant, Concorin told WMD. While few refugees are sent directly to Aberdeen, they come as part of what is called a secondary migration from Sioux Falls and from several cities in Minnesota. Big secondary migrant location, Concorin said. The The mayor wanted to set up a direct resettlement site in Aberdeen, but Lutheran Social Services of South Dakota backed off due to the uproar from the citizens. The meat plant closed, then reopened, and when they reopened under new ownership, Somali laborers, and some came over from Minnesota and some from Sioux Falls. What else is being hidden? Since the case of Laban Mohammed attention, residents are wondering how many other crimes by refugees may have been shielded from public view in Aberdeen and Huron. A sheriff's office employee named Ryan confirmed to WND Mohammed was arrested in 2016 in Aberdeen and remains in custody at the county jail. He is currently in custody right now, he said. WND's request for Mohammed was denied. The clerk of court's office confirmed the trial was held December the 20th and scheduled for 2 days, but it lasted only 1 day before the jury convicted Mohammed as charged. A sentencing hearing has been set for January 30th at 4:30 p.m. For the crime is 5 years in prison, White said. According to court records obtained by WND, Mohammed was arrested July the 30th and indicted by a grand jury on April the 15th. The jury was seated on Monday, December the 19th, and the trial was held Tuesday, December the 20th. Next article I have for you is off of BizPac Review. And it says, if I can get the ads to stop popping up on it. Gee whiz. Okay. It says, China warns Trump against ill-advised Twitter diplomacy. President-elect Donald Trump enjoys using social media to share his thoughts, but conducting foreign policy on Twitter is ill-advised, China's state media said Tuesday. Engaging in Twitter diplomacy is ill-advised, Xinhua news agency wrote in a commentary on Tuesday. Tweeting has become habit for the incoming president, Xinhua explained. Over the past month, Trump has targeted China in several critical tweets, blasting China for manipulating its currency, engaging in unfair trading practices, militarizing the South China Sea, unlawfully seizing a U.S. naval unmanned underwater vehicle in international waters, taking advantage of the U.S., and failing to rein in North Korea. And it gives a list of his tweets here. And it says, Trump's tweets have sparked concern in U.S. and around the world, Xinhua argued in another article on Wednesday. China held up Democratic Senator Chuck Schumer's statement in his first speech as Senate Minority Leader Tuesday that America cannot afford a Twitter presidency as an example. Xinhua also mentioned several liberal media outlets and their complaints over Trump's tweets, noting the president-elect's tweets are disrupting relations between partners and competitors. It is common sense that foreign policy is not child's play, and even less is it like doing business deals, Xinhua asserted. Twitter should not become an instrument of foreign policy. Trump's incoming press secretary, Sean Spicer, said late last month that Trump will continue to use Twitter once he takes office. He has this direct pipeline to the American people where he can talk back and forth, Spicer revealed to Rhode Island news outlet WPRI in a recent interview. His use of social media in particular is going to be something that has never been seen before. I think that's going to be just a really exciting part of the job, he added. China, where Twitter is banned, disagrees. The next article I have for you, let's see, it looks like this is off the No Trick Zone, and it says, 1,000 skeptical peer-reviewed climate papers should put IPCC to shame, says Harvard astrophysicist. Claims that the Earth is rapidly heating up because man-made CO2 and thus heading for a climate catastrophe have taken serious body blow over the past 3 years as a huge and fresh body of science emerges. Fake science. More than 1,000 peer-reviewed papers published over the last 3 years expose climate alarmism as fake science. 1,000 papers in 3 years. Yesterday, Kenneth Richards published his list of 500 climate change catastrophe skeptic papers appearing in scientific journals in 2016 alone. It is the latest addition to the 282 papers published in 2015 and the 248 papers published in 2014, bringing the total number of peer-reviewed papers published over the past 3 years to more than 1,000. As a result, the once many dramatic hockey stick shaped curves put out by some climate scientists over the past 2 decades showing the Earth is headed for disaster have been exposed as fake science, which of course had spawned some 20 years of nonstop fake news, much of it designed to spread panic among the population. Needlessly hyped. According to Richard, the vast collection of fresh papers show that natural factors play a much larger, if not dominant, role when it comes to climate change. The expected global warming has been needlessly hyped, experts are now saying. Puts IPCC to shame. Harvard astrophysicist Dr. Willie Soon thinks the UN Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, or the IPCC, has strayed way off track. I'm not surprised by the large number or empirical evidence that rejects the CO2 dangerous global warming alarmism, wrote Soon in an email. This sort of literature review ought to put the sort of biased, if not anti-science reports by the UN IPCC to shame. Dr. Soon has long been a sharp critic of the mainstream institutionalized climate science. He added, "It is high time for the wider public to not only bear witness to the unbalance and corruption of our science institutions, but also to demand answers on why there has been such a disregard for truth and fact. Climate well within natural variability. Many among the 1,000 peer-reviewed scholarly papers show that the extreme weather events are in fact not increasing in any unusual manner, that they were also common in the past, and that today they are still well within the range of natural variability. Other papers show that biodiversity is not under any serious threat. Hundreds of other papers have found that the solar activity and oceanic cycles are, in fact, the driving factors behind climate change. In short, the latest fresh batch of scientific literature is telling us that all of the past alarmism likely has been needlessly shrill, and that it's time to take a step back and to seriously refocus. Although most of the papers listed by Richard do not refute global warming and that man plays a role, they do cast undeniable doubt over the cause of the warming, especially the warming over the past 35 years. The recent literature clearly shows that natural factors indeed play a major role, and CO2 much less so. The climate science, a UN charade. Not mincing any words, Canadian climatologist Dr. Tim Ball feels that global warming became a charade years ago and that it has gone on too long. He offers an even harsher assessment of the UN climate science, writing that the IP is made up of bureaucrats who harbor a political agenda. Extreme bias of climate research was deliberately created through the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, or IPCC, to prove rather than disprove the hypothesis that human CO2 was causing runaway global warming. He wrote to NTZ in an email. The political messaging, or the political message and funding, were directed to only research that proved their hypothesis. Only journals that favored the objective were used and encouraged, so the preponderance of research and publications supported the predetermined message. It's a classic case of lysinokism. Dr. Ball authored the climate science critical book, Human Caused Global Warming, the biggest deception in history. So there you have that. And that's the last article I have in this episode for you, but there will be one more episode this morning for our trifecta that I'm. So if you like what we're doing, give it a thumbs up. Be sure and share it around on your social media so everybody gets to hear the news. Don't forget to subscribe. Click that little bell beside the subscription button and check that box so you get email messages every time I put a show up. And that way you stay informed. We'll see you in the next episode.